Hey, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the post-fight live show here at the Mandatory. If you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. We saw Jose Valenzuela upset Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and now we have a new champ, a new WBA super lightweight champion, and he resides in Renton, Washington, not too far from Vancouver. We're just going to claim him as our champ here on the West Coast. Jose Valenzuela got it done against Pitbull Cruz, and he boxed beautifully. Bryan, your thoughts on Jose Valenzuela, the new champ at 140 pounds?
I absolutely love the performance. Love the performance. I actually had this one 8-4 as well for Jose Valenzuela because I said this past week, I'm still thinking about Terrence Crawford. I said this past week that Isaac Cruz should, in terms of stylistically, given what we've seen from Jose Valenzuela, should win this fight. They're setting this up to be like an action fight. This is what it was billed as. This is what it was marketed as. It's going to be Mexican versus Mexican. It's going to be a war. And I said, all right, if it's that kind of fight, Isaac Cruz should win this fight by knockout, technical knockout. But if Valenzuela were to come out, use his range, box, keep a safe distance, and just sort of pick him off and do what he was doing, I would live bet Jose Valenzuela because I think he could keep that up. If that's his game plan, because that's the blueprint on Isaac Cruz. We've been saying it here. Isaac Cruz, kind of an overrated fighter. We've seen how he can get beat before. Arguably could have lost that Gio Cabrera fight because of this same thing. This was the Gio Cabrera blueprint, except it had more offense in it, and that's why he ended up winning the fight. And to me, with Rayo Valenzuela, I did live bet because he was plus 100 by decision after round 3. And I'm like, oh, I'm taking this. So I ended up taking that, and we came out okay. With Terrence Crawford, we did not, but it is what it is. We'll take the L there. But with Rayo Valenzuela, that was just a great performance. Coming off the 2 fights with Chris Colbert, people think he gets robbed the first time, and then this was a special performance. I'm glad he didn't get robbed, and a lot of other boxers were tweeting the same thing. A lot of other boxers he won that fight, because Pitbull Cruz again is awesome, one of the most popular dudes in the sport because of his style. He brutalizes guys, but he fights one way. And dudes could figure that out, use their length, use their boxing ability. And if they could sustain the punches, because you're going to get tagged at times, you'll be fine. And I thought he won this fight pretty easily.
Yeah, I had it 8 rounds to 4 or in favor of Jose Valenzuela, and Pitbull Cruz. He's one dimensional. And as much as of a fan that I am of his, he's great to watch. He's fun. He's going to come forward. He's going to take big shots. But if that's the only way that you're fighting, you're going to get figured out and you're going to get exposed. And Jose Valenzuela exposed him tonight, that he's beatable, that he isn't the best at 140 pounds. Because listen, there was talk at one point that he was the best at 140 pounds. Jose Valenzuela goes up into the ring, uses his distance, fights very well defensively, right? This is a guy going into the fight that everyone was like, yo, Valenzuela's chin is sus. Well, he took a lot of big shots from Isaac Cruz, but he handled it well. His footwork was immaculate. Isaac Cruz still has not figured out how to cut off a ring. At this point, it's a little bit ridiculous. He hasn't gotten better in that aspect. And I'm not here trying to, I'm just going to say it because late night, it's 11:11 right now, make a wish. I'm not trying to shit on Isaac Cruz here, but that was a terrible performance from him. And Jose Valenzuela had the blueprint, and he did work, and he boxed beautifully. He was able to land. He was sticking and moving. This was the performance that everyone wanted to see from Valenzuela, and we know that he has power, and Isaac Cruz's power wasn't really doing anything to him. And to me, now the 140-pound division, as it has been, it's crazy. It's wide open. It's not even how it was 6 months ago. So this is a division that's crazy. Isaac Cruz was like, yo, let's run it back. But if I'm Jose Valenzuela, I'm looking elsewhere. I'd rather fight a Teofimo Lopez or something like that than fight a Isaac Cruz. At that point, if I have it scored 8-4, I won that convincingly. Why do I need to give you a rematch?
I also I was surprised to begin with. Lobby CDQ brings us up. We got to put more comments on. We'll get better at that. And we see a couple comments about Jared Anderson. We're gonna get to that. We may even get to that next. We'll see. Although the order, but yeah. Lobby CDQ, thank you for chiming in. Cruz is too small of a brawler for 140. I think that might be part of it too. Like I was surprised that he was going to fight at 140 to begin with. Now we pretty much know why. It's because Rolly Romero was a champion in the weight class, and no disrespect to a former guest of the show, but comparatively with the other champions, seemed like easy pickings. This was actually, when you really think about it, this is kind of, or not kind of, this is eerily similar to the fight Subriel Matias had, where he lost to Liam Paro in his hometown. Isaac Cruz, basically home, LA, you already know, loses to Valenzuela the same way. I think I scored it the same way, as a matter of fact, too. And if you want a Puerto Rico versus Mexico fight at 140, there you go, right there. Subriel Matias versus Isaac Cruz. You can actually make that fight happen now, and then the winner will probably get right back into the title picture. But yeah, this weight class is a fucking mess. We've been saying it. Tyrone says it here. 140 is everywhere. Devin Haney still has the title. I'm pretty sure. I think WBC called him.
Yo, they were booing him when he walked in. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Michael Benson tweeted that he tweeted a video, reposted it, and they were booing Devin Haney. Like, why is Devin Haney getting booed? Like, that's what I want to know. That's what I don't understand.
Don't like him. People think he's corny because he celebrated that he got his O back, basically, and that he's still undefeated again, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But, so you have that, and then obviously Teofimo Lopez has the performance that he had against Steve Claggett, where he wins by decision, and people are underwhelmed by that. And now Valenzuela's a champion, Liam Paro's a champion. Like, this weight class is madness. And I think Ismael Barroso, still has the title. I think he still has the
title. Give the man a real fight, okay? Give Barroso a real fight. I do want to ask you here, Bryan, with Jose Valenzuela, because it's like, what's next for him? Does he do the rematch with Pitbull Cruz? Does he look elsewhere?
I would look elsewhere. I mean, there will probably be money in a Pitbull Cruz rematch, but like, to me, he beat him handily enough. Like, to me, if it's 116, 112, I'm good. I don't need a rematch. 115, 113, cool. But like, this is part of my problem with the UFC product right now. Is just too many fucking rematches. I don't want to see rematches for every single fight. And a bunch of the rematches in the UFC have been good, to their credit. But here, where there's less variance in terms of wins and losses, even though we're talking about an upset here, I don't see the need for a rematch with Isaac Cruz and Valenzuela. I don't think the fight was competitive enough to warrant a rematch.
No, and here's the thing. If we left that fight being like, who won that fight? Was it Isaac Cruz? Was it Jose Valenzuela? No, we knew. And everyone on Twitter, I felt like, thought Jose Valenzuela won that fight. Now, here's the question
that
I want to
ask. Not in LA, they were booing.
Yeah, but I think they were also booing because his performance was terrible. They got fans that will, they'll boo you if you suck. And I don't think Pitbull Cruz had a very good performance. I'm sorry, Pitbull Cruz fans. I'm a Pitbull Cruz fan. Did not have a good performance. Now, here's a question I want to ask before we kind of get to the Valenzuela Cruz comments. Was Pitbull Cruz one of the most overrated champions this year?
Jesus Christ. I mean,
it's late night. We can get into it. You know what I mean?
It's an unspectacular title run. To his credit, beat Rolly Romero, and he loses this fight. He was a big favorite. We said too big of a favorite, probably, but he was a big favorite for his fight. It was like 4-1, 5-1 going into it. There was absolutely no value betting Pitbull Cruz unless if you were going to take the knockout, which, Valenzuela's been knocked out before. But this is the thing, and this is what I have to reassess as somebody who bets on this shit. Is like, just because someone gets knocked out before doesn't mean that every time they have a big fight going forward, not that I think this way, but some people do, that they're going to get knocked out. And he grew from that. He adjusted his style. He came out. He did exactly what we were saying. It's like, yo, if he boxes, he has a big reach advantage. If he uses that, do what Gio Cabrera did and just do it with more offense. And there you go. Like, he did that. He did it successfully. And yeah, I wonder what his next title defense or what his first title defense would be. But to me, like, Isaac Cruz, I don't know. There's been some overrated champions in the sport this year, but
I mean, Broly was a champion. He was essentially overrated, right?
I don't think a lot of people like rate him that highly. I think
Well,
I think
yeah.
most people know that was a gift, the poor decision against Barroso or whatever. But yeah, I think people think Isaac Cruz is supposed to be like a pound for pound guy, and no, he's a fun action fighter who's probably better at 135 than at 140, but he's beatable. Like he's just more beatable than I think his super fans think. Because you have people saying that, oh, he'll Tank is running from him, he'll beat Tank in the rematch, and Tank's probably watching this fight laughing his fucking ass off.
Yeah, I could see Tank dancing and laughing to what he just saw. Tank's got moves, but what I will say is, for me, I do believe that Isaac Cruz was probably one of the most overrated champions this year, because look at his first title defense. I think what Isaac Cruz is, extremely fun fighter. The fight style is amazing to watch. He does have power, but when you stack him up in the 140-pound division, there's a lot of guys that will beat him. Now there's a blueprint out on him, and I think he'll suffer more else.
He's got
Especially
three already.
especially in the 140-pound division, because I do believe he's better at 135. So I think now the blueprint is out on Isaac Cruz, and he's going to lose more fights because of how Jose Valenzuela boxed. I don't think Valenzuela should give him a rematch. I'm going to get to some of the comments here. The one guy that I would like to see him fight, Jose Valenzuela, because I think it would be a money fight, is him and Teofimo Lopez. I think that is a great fight. What we saw with Teofimo Lopez and Steve Claggett, he dominated, but he didn't have the finish that we all thought he was going to have. I also look at the 140-pound division, Brian. I still think Teofimo Lopez is the best in that division.
Yeah, to me he is, and I mean, I honestly don't think it's close, really. We'll have to see where Devin Haney is, to be fair, because Ryan Garcia, among other things, was on roids and God knows what else for that fight. But we have to see how Devin Haney sort of recovers. So that's like a big question mark for me. But
Yeah.
Teofimo Lopez is best at 140.
Our friend of the show, Ace_317, Rayo Leomparo would be a very good fight. Yeah, I believe so.
I think that a lot.
I like the way Leomparo fights. Like, he still might be a little bit underrated after going into Puerto Rico and beating Subriel Matias.
I think Subriel Matias should fight Isaac Cruz.
I would love that fight. That's a fight that I would love to see. Luis Porto, friend of the show, I believe you're talking about Isaac Cruz, overrated AF. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be saying that. And also our good friend of the show, Tony Yayo, says no rematch with Pitbull. So I think a lot of people don't really want to see that rematch.